Hi, I'm Charmaine Ironside with Ironside Fitness, and I'm excited today to go through our first workout for the Fit for 2 Ironside Fitness trimester workouts. So first trimester, 0 to about 13-14 weeks, and we're going to do 2 workouts today. So we've got the first workout's core and cardio. So core is so important in pregnancy and in life. As a lot of you know, I've had some severe back injuries in my past, and I've always found that maintaining a strong core has helped my back. So in pregnancy, obviously as the belly gets bigger and bigger, women get more and more back problems, and that's the #1 complaint in pregnancy as it progresses, is that women get low back pain. So we're going to work really hard to get our core as strong as we can now, early on in the pregnancy, so that later on we're not going to deal with all that back pain. Some other reasons, a lot of people get uterine ligament pain, so if we have a stronger core, there's less incidence of having that type of pain as the uterus expands. We also find there's a lot less incidence of prolapsed internal organs during birth and labor. So if you have a strong core, you've got such a better base to push from in your labor. And lastly, your muscle memory. So if we work on our core now and for the next 9 months, we're going to be in such better shape once the baby comes out and we want to get our body back. So our body has amazing muscle memory, and the more we keep up our fitness, the easier it's going to be afterwards. So it's all going to be worthwhile. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with our warm-up now. So I like to just start with about a 2-minute warm-up. We'll just start with some gentle jogging on the spot. You always want to make sure when you're pregnant that you use the talk test. So that means you should be able to hold a conversation with someone at all times throughout the workout, whether it's a strength exercise, lifting weights, or cardiovascular. So for me, if I was doing a regular workout when I wasn't pregnant, I probably wouldn't be able to talk through the whole workout because I might be pushing myself more into that anaerobic or no oxygen zone. But when I'm pregnant, because there's a baby inside, we never want to starve it of oxygen. So if we're starved of oxygen, then the fetus or the baby is going to be starved of oxygen. So we'll do some heel taps, just warming up the legs, the shoulders, keeping the core. You always want to think about bracing your core when you're moving. So imagine if someone was going to punch you in the rib cage, how you'd sort of brace your core. So everything we do, we want to be always bracing. And we're going to go into some squats now. So putting your feet a little bit wider than shoulder width, arms can be out front or at your side, and just squatting up and down. You want to think about putting about 70% of your weight in your heels, squeezing your bum as you come up. Always keeping your core strong, trying to hinge from the knees, slightly from the hips. Most of my weight's in my heels, squatting down and up, always squeezing the glutes. Gonna add a little kick into it, working a little bit of the balance, warming up the hamstrings. The balance muscles are always important. Great work. Just 3 more, 2, and 1. We'll just jog a little bit again, doing some big arm circles, warming up the chest, the core, the shoulders. A few of the cardio moves today, we'll be putting weight through our wrists. So we're going to do a little bit of wrist circles, just trying to warm up anything that we're going to work today and getting blood flow to the entire body. So keeping that core strong. Just going to do a hip flexor, knee pull into the chest, working a little bit of balance again, and opening up these hip flexors. They get tight in a lot of people, but especially when you're pregnant as your belly expands, the hip flexors will really tighten up. A couple more of these. And then one of my favorite all over moves for warming up is an inchworm. So you're going to reach for the ground, walk your hands out till you're in a front plank, engage your core, a quarter of a push-up, walk your hands back. We're going to do 4 of those. So it's a great warm-up for the shoulders, the core, the hamstrings, just getting everything working as a unit. So it's still a warm-up. I'm always using that talk test as my guide to know if I'm working too hard. And you're always welcome to our heart monitor as well. And just make sure you're working at somewhat hard of a intensity. You never want to feel like you're pushing too hard. Obviously, if you don't challenge yourself, you're not going to see as much results. but somewhat hard is right where you want to be. So we're heading into our first round of our cardio and core circuit. So you're going to want to have a nice mat. You can use a yoga mat, anything you have around the house. And our first exercise is abdominal bracing. So this is an exercise that's going to take you through your whole pregnancy. So it might seem a little easy at first, but stick with me. So you want to do a slight pelvic tilt where you're going to tilt your pelvis up towards your rib cage. So you actually want to imagine bringing the space between your ribs and your pelvis closer together. You're going to hold that position and imagining again, like we did in the warm-up, if someone was to punch you in the rib cage, how you brace your core. Now the most important thing here is that you're breathing the whole time. So we're holding it for about 30 seconds. We're bracing, we're pulling our hip bones towards our breastbone, and we're imagining if we got punched, how we'd brace our core. So the reason it's so important is because as we get bigger bellies throughout pregnancy, you're going to have more issues with ligament pain and muscle cramps, things like that. So if you're able to brace your core as you change positions, you're going to be a lot better off. So now we'll relax. We've braced for 30 seconds. We're going to do that one more time. So slight pelvic tilt, no space under your low back. You've got the rib cage pulling towards the hip bones, and you're bracing the core. I like to just use a Timex watch, whatever you have around, just to do your timing. And you're taking nice deep breaths, but you're still maintaining that braced position. And remember, if there's anything that doesn't feel right for you, don't do it. If you feel like you need a break, when I'm not taking a break, take your own break. You can pause the video, grab water whenever you need. So 5, keep that braced position. 4, it's also good to imagine pulling up on the pelvic floor like you're stopping the flow of urine, and release. So that's our basic bracing. Now our second exercise, we're going to take that a step further. So that slight pelvic tilt again, no space under your low back, and you're going to do a leg slide with your right leg. So inhale as you extend, exhale as you pull back in. Inhale as you extend, exhale as you pull back in. So you're working the bracing but in a more dynamic way. Keep going with that one. It's also good to pull up on the pelvic floor as you pull your leg in. You're doing great. Inhale as you extend, exhale as you pull back in. We're going to do 4 more. Inhale, exhale, still bracing, still imagining pulling the hip bones towards the breastbone. 2 more, make sure you're breathing with me. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, perfect. Third exercise before we do our cardio is just going to be a V-sit. So you're going to roll your shoulders back, you're going to put your feet like this, and we're just going to hold. We're going to hold for about 30 seconds. You can pump your arms if you want, but you want to make sure you roll your shoulders back. You still bracing your core. To make it more challenging, you straighten your legs. Less challenging, your feet are on the ground. Even less challenging, you come up slightly. So you're doing great. We got about 10 seconds left. Shoulders back. You want to gaze at the ceiling so your neck is in neutral. Great work. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Perfect. So now we're going to head into our first cardio interval. So cardio is so important throughout pregnancy because it's going to give you energy throughout your pregnancy. It's going to boost your mood, boost those endorphins, and it's also going to make your life a lot easier when you're in labor and after you deliver. So our first exercise is just going to be 30 seconds, and it's called a mountain climber. So you're coming into a straight arm plank. You want to make sure your shoulders line up right over your wrists, and you go as fast as you choose to go, driving the knees into the chest. Core is tight. You want to make sure your bum is in line with your shoulders. Great job. Abdominals are braced. Remember the talk test. So you practice on yourself. If you can hold a conversation, you're doing good. If you want to go more intense, you go a little faster. We got this. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Perfect. Have a quick sip of water. Remember, as you're pregnant and your pregnancy progresses, you're going to have a lower blood pressure. So going from up to down is more chance of getting you dizzy. So make sure you transition really slowly from up to down. Next we're going to do bracing again, but on all fours. So we're changing the position, working it in a dynamic way. So we're just going to do it once for 30 seconds. You want to make sure your head, shoulders, and tailbone are in line, and brace again. So you're pulling your rib cage towards your pelvis, you're pulling your belly button in towards your spine, bracing as if someone was going to punch you in the rib cage. Keeping that core strong. And the most important thing is to breathe. All throughout every exercise, every stretch, everything you do, you're breathing through it. 5 more. 4. Taking those nice deep breaths, but you're still maintaining that strong braced position. 3, 2, and 1. Perfect. So now we're going to make it more dynamic. We're going to do a bird dog. So same position, onto all fours. And we're going to inhale, extending our left leg and right arm. Holding it for a couple breaths. And then slowly bringing it back. Your goal here is to continue to brace your core, making sure your hips don't shift so they stay very stable. Extending opposite arm and leg. If you've never done these before, sometimes it's helpful to have someone watch you, or you can even look in a mirror to make sure that your hips are stable, but really focusing on keeping your hips in line with the mat. And make sure you're breathing. Good job. Just always taking it slow. A lot of exercises people try to rush, but this is one where we want to go nice and slow and controlled. Gazing down at the floor, you want to keep your neck in neutral. Slowly pulling back in. Last one. Awesome job. So now we're going to make it a bit more of a challenge. We're going to turn it into a front plank. So from our forearms, shoulders line up over the elbows, shoulders pull down away from the ears. We're going to put a tiny arch in our upper back, which helps to protect our low back, and we press off our knees. I'm going to hold it for as long as you can, at least 30 seconds. You have that same position when you're bracing your core. Abdominals are nice and tight, keeping that nice alignment. You don't want your bum to come up too high or too low because that's hard on your back. So finding a nice tabletop position. We can do this for 10 more seconds. Holding strong, bracing that core. 5, 4, 3, and done. Great job. We'll take a little stretch back here. And our second 3 exercises. So it's going to be a sumo squat pulse. So a nice wide squat. Shoulders are back away from the ears. We're working these big muscle groups, the quadriceps, the hamstrings, the glutes. I'm putting most of my weight in my heels. Arms can do whatever you want out in front. Anything you like. You're squeezing your bum, pulling your core in tight. We can do it 10 more seconds. So the cardio is designed to help burn more calories throughout the workout, work your heart so you stay strong throughout your pregnancy, and it's really good for boosting your mood. You always feel pretty good after a cardio workout. And done. So we did our 30 seconds of sumo squats, and now it's time to go into our last 3 exercises. So the first one is a V-up. So you're going to come into an in position and then gently out. So it's like our V-sit at the start, but we're taking it into a more dynamic motion. You want to exhale as you come up, inhale as you go back. If that's too challenging, hands on the ground, exhaling as you pull in, inhaling as you extend. Exhale, great work. We're going to do for 5, 4, 3, great job. Exhale, 2, we're bracing that core, and 1. Perfect. Now you get to come onto your back, and we're going to do a slight pelvic tilt like we did in the bracing. Both legs are going to come up. And we're going to do one at a time leg lowers. So this is really going to work the transverse abdominis, those lower abs. So inhale as you lower, exhale as you lift. Inhale as you lower, exhale as you lift. Great job. Inhale, exhale. Keeping that core braced, we don't want it to puff up. We want to keep it really controlled. If you're finding you're not being able to keep your back flat and you're finding you're getting a puff at the front, you're going to want to go bend the knees. So a little bit less intense. You also don't have to go as far down. If you're finding it too easy, you can do both legs at once. I like to go one at a time. We'll go for 2 more. Inhale, exhale, Inhale, exhale. Perfect. Our last exercise of the day is a side plank. So we're going to come onto our forearm. We're going to start on our left side. You can stack the feet or put one in front of the other, hand on the hip, and you're going to hold for about 15 seconds. So holding the hips high, you want to peel the shoulder back. You're a long plank. Side plank, keeping the core engaged, bracing that tummy, holding it strong for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Perfect. Then we switch to the other side. Same thing, stacking the feet, hands on the hips, core is engaged. If you're ever finding it's too much, you can always drop the bottom knee down. You're still going to get a good activation in your obliques. Holding strong here. You got it. 5, 4, 3, 2, and done. Perfect. Our last cardio of the day, it's going to be a plank spider. So holding a straight arm plank, you're going to step the foot up towards the hand and back. Working the core. You can go as fast or as slow as you choose to go. We're going for that 30 seconds. Keeping the core braced. You got this. Keeping the bum in line with the shoulders. Give me 4 more. 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. So you made it through round 1. We're going to go for one more round. And then you can go for a third if you choose. Okay. All right, so we're ready for round 2. Make sure you had some water. You need to take a break, you take as long as you need. So starting again with bracing, we're going to go for 30 seconds. So onto your back, you're going to roll your hip bones back towards you, closing any space under your low back. You want to imagine pulling your hip bones towards your rib cage. And you're breathing as you brace your core. Imagine that feeling again. If you were going to get punched in the rib cage, how you'd brace everything in, pulling the belly button towards the spine. You're still breathing for 30 seconds. It should be a very mindful exercise. So you really want to be focusing the whole time. Remember to pull up on the pelvic floor as if you're stopping the flow of urine, really working on those Kegel muscles. Holding it for another 3. Nice and tight. 2. And 1. Good. Release that braced position. Now we're going to go into our leg slides. So slight pelvic tilt, no space under the low back. You're going to inhale as you extend the leg. Exhale as you pull back in and you brace those lower abs. Inhale, extend the left leg. Exhale as you pull back in. This is also a great chance to work on your pelvic floor. So inhale as you extend, and then as you pull the leg back in, you're tightening the core, but also pulling up on the pelvic floor. Inhale, exhale. 6 more. Great work, keeping that braced position, remembering what you're working on, getting that core really stable. As your body's changing, it's so important to protect your back by having a strong core. Inhaling, exhaling. 2 more. Great work. Make sure you're breathing as loud as you choose. Inhale, exhale. Great job. That's the leg slides. Now we're going to come into our V-sit for 30 seconds. Shoulders back, tummy tight. You can straighten the legs or bend them for less challenge. Feet on the ground for less challenge again. Core is tight, halfway there. You can pump the arms. Remember, you're not shrugging. Your shoulders are down, 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 away from the ears. Core tight. Should be shaking. Shaking means you're building new muscle. Core tight, tight, and done. Perfect. Our first cardio interval. Back to those mountain climbers. Nice straight arm plank position. Shoulders in line with the wrists and driving those knees in. Core tight. Keeping the bum in line with the shoulders. Abdominals are tight. Breathing through the whole workout. We got these. Remember the talk test. You're always able to breathe throughout every exercise and talk. Great job. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. We're on all fours now. Feel free to grab a sip of water. You're going to need to probably double the water you did before you were pregnant. So on to all fours. We're going to do our bracing now in this all fours position. 30 seconds, pulling the rib cage towards the pelvis, keeping a nice long flat back. Imagining you're bracing against a blow to your rib cage, your core is tight, your pelvic floor is engaged, your lower abdominals are tight, everything's working as a unit, everything's engaged. Great work. 2 more deep breaths. Always breathing through every exercise. We have to get oxygen to those hard-working muscles. And done, good. You can shake it out, you can stretch it back for a moment. And then we're gonna come into our bird dog. So you're extending opposite arm and leg, holding for a couple of seconds, and slowly back in. Your goal is to keep your pelvis as stable as humanly possible. Inhaling, slowly exhaling as you pull back in. Great job. Working on keeping that core braced. That's a big focus of today, is bracing through all the movements. And breathing. I like to inhale, exhale, back in. Remember, speed is not your friend on this exercise. Just take your time. The more control you have and the more mind-body connection you have, the better your results. Slow and controlled. 4 more. Really reach. It's a dynamic movement, but you're bracing that core. 3 more. Nice work. Reach it out. You're doing great. Last 2. Extend it out. Last 1. Reach. Perfect. Now continuing that bracing right into our front plank. So we're holding our 30-second front plank. Shoulders line up over the elbows, coming off the knees. Slight arch in the upper back to protect the low back. The belly button's pulling towards the spine, and we're holding strong here. Great job. We're already halfway. Pulling that core in tight, bracing through, abs are tight. Make sure you're squeezing your bum, shoulder blades are squeezed, belly button pulls in for 5, 4, 3, stay with me, and done. Awesome work. Sumo drop squats. So a nice wide sumo squat position, hands can be at your chest, and just a 30-second drop squat. Shoulders back away from the ears. Make sure you're breathing, getting oxygen to those hard-working muscles. Nice job. Squeezing the glutes, your bum is tight, belly button is pulling towards your spine, shoulders are relaxed. Great job. For 10. Feel those big muscle groups burning through calories, building new muscle. You're gonna feel great after this. 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. We've got our last 3 exercises, 1 more cardio, and then you're done. Grab some water. So now we're going to that more dynamic version of the V-sit. So in, I like to exhale as I come in, inhale as I go out. Great work. Shoulders relaxed. It's good to gaze at the ceiling because then you won't be craning your neck forward. We've already got enough gravity pulling us forward throughout the day. It's always good to practice good posture in your workouts. 4 more. Exhale, pull in. Inhale. Exhale if your back's bothering you. Hands at your sides. Pull those lower abs in. And 1. Perfect. Now onto your back. You're going to do that slight pelvic tilt again. We've got our leg lowers now. So legs up in the air. You're going to inhale, lower, exhale, lift. Keeping those lower abs braced. We're going for 10 reps. Nice job. Keeping the core tight. As you exhale, bringing the leg back up, you can imagine pulling up on the pelvic floor. 6 more. Keeping the legs as straight as you can. Inhale, Exhale. Great work. Remember, you can bend the knees if it's putting too much strain on your back. A little bit less intense. Great work. 2 more. Going inhale. Exhale. If your back is lifting, that's when you know you're going too far down. Inhale. And exhale. Great work. Our last exercise, going right into that side plank. Shoulder goes right over the elbow. Plank it out. So your abs are tight, shoulder pulls back so it's in line with your other shoulder. Hand can be on your hip. Holding it for about 15 seconds. Great job. You can drop that knee if you need. Holding it for 5, 4, you can do it. 3, 2, and 1. Perfect. Flipping over for the other side. Shoulder lines up over the elbow. Stack those feet. Drive that hip up. Hand on the hip. And hold. Got our 15-second hold. We're almost at the end of the workout. Core is nice and tight. Shoulder peels back. Always want to have nice alignment. Holding it for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's finish our 30-second cardio interval. We've got our spiders. So it's a plank position, straight arms. Bring the foot up to the hand and back. Up and back. Great job. Keeping that core braced, the bum is low, in line with the spine. For 4, 3, 2, 1. Great job. So that's the end of our core and cardio circuit. We're going to go into our cool down and stretch next. Awesome work. If you want to go back and go through one more round to make it 3, you're welcome to, but 2 is an awesome start. Remember to flip that top wrist, gently coming around. In a perfect world, the arm would stay flat to the ground, but most of us have a little bit of tightness in the chest. Maybe it's from sitting at a computer too long all day. Maybe it's just from holding babies or any kind of postural thing. So it's a really good, nice, enjoyable stretch. Working through that range of motion. Awesome work. Let's do one more. Make sure you're not holding your breath. You always want to be breathing through every motion. Great work. And last 2, because we did quite a bit on our, well, we did some on our wrists, we're going to just do a nice gentle wrist stretch. Just like this. You should feel it here in your forearm. Gently pulling back as much as feels comfortable for you. Same idea, breathing into those tight areas. And other way. Getting the underside. One way might feel tighter than the other. And switching. Getting a little bit of a forearm stretch here. Great work. Try to relax your shoulders. Sometimes I hunch when I'm stressed or I'm not thinking, so just always reminding yourself to bring your shoulders away from your ears. And then other way, getting a stretch in that wrist. We often neglect our wrists, so it's nice to stretch them out. And then last stretch, we're just going to do a nice neck stretch. So just gently pulling, or you don't even have to pull depending how tight your neck is, but just a gentle pressure if it feels good for you. Gently to the other side. It's always good to work on the neck. Awesome work. That's your cool down and stretch. Great work on the first trimester workouts.